It's time for Bringing the Heat.
I don't think one player will influence things as much as you might think.
Yeah.
With Kade Moore and Elijah Mosier.
It makes another team it's near to impossible to beat anybody.
Minnesota, time and time again, cannot win in the postseason.
Don't want to let people know what I'm thinking and what knowledge I can share to everybody. So,
or our lack of knowledge.
Welcome into Bringing the Heat, Elijah Mosier alongside Kade Moore, and we got a great week for you guys. A great episode playing for you guys this week, and we cannot be more excited about it. And I can't wait to get into our next segment later on in the show. But we got to start off elsewhere. We also got a new segment coming up for you guys today. But first off, Kade, how are you doing?
Doing well. Been actually really busy as of late. Still been mowing lawns with my dad throughout the week, and just got back from our little, you could say, family reunion get together. We got together in Lincoln, Nebraska, and had an Airbnb there, and got to see all my family. Got to hang out by the pool and in the hot tub and playing card games with grandma and grandpa. So just got back from that today. So I've been pretty busy. How about yourself, Elijah?
I have been pretty busy too, not in the normal way. I have been pretty busy trying to keep up with all the sports action going on because I just love to sit in front of the TV and watch all the different action that's going on. I try to catch it all, but I know that I can't. I was trying to watch three different things yesterday and just it was not happening very well, but I was trying my best. And like you, I've also been seeing family. I've been up at my grandparents' house twice this last week. Just got back from there today, and so it's really great to be around family. And it's been a great Memorial Day weekend, but I can't wait to get into today's show. So let's not keep everybody waiting any longer. We got something cooking up. We haven't named it yet, but here's our new segment. I have First Blast or Heat Wave coming up. Maybe it'll just be called Heat Wave. I don't know how you feel about the Cade. We can talk about that later, but this is a new segment that we're gonna go around with, and so because we can't capture everything and we can't discuss everything at a full length ability, we decided to create a new segment into where each of us get to talk about something we are a little bit more passionate about and that we can get a little more effort into, maybe a little less known things. So you won't see like the NBA or the NFL in this. You'll see more lesser known stuff. And so can't wait to get into it. Kay, do you want to go first or should I lead off?
I'll start it. So yeah, I'll be talking about the WNBA and our lead off or heat wave, whatever we're gonna end up calling it. But just kind of giving you a rundown of what's kind of going on and the main storylines. But that's kind of the main girl we've always been talking about the WNBA is Caitlin Clark, but she is still struggling as of late here in the WNBA. Her team, the Indiana Fever, is 1-6 right now, but it's a tough start for her. Her team is not really surrounded with a lot of superstars, and it's just tough for her on every single ball screen. When you're watching her games, she's getting doubled on ball screens, and it's just she's had some struggles dealing with the physicality of the WNBA. But reading some articles, Sue Bird kind of gave some NBA or WNBA veteran was kind of trying to giving her some advice and told her to be patient. There has been a lot of rookies in any sport really that just came out and just been absolutely dominant to start. And it's really hard for a rookie like Caitlin Clark to kind of carry her team with not a lot of superstars around her. So, but that's just for it's early in her career and she has a lot coming up for her. But if you ever look up WNBA, kind of the main storylines too, like which we've talked about before, is it's still about the rookies. It's about Angel Reese, Cameron Brink, and Caitlin Clark. There hasn't been a whole lot of other storylines about kind of the better teams like the Connecticut Sun that are 5-0, the Lynx that are 4-1. You don't really hear a lot about them, but we talk about the Indiana Fever that are 1-6, the LA Sparks that are 1-4, and the Chicago Sky that are 2-2. So still the main headlines are about the rookies here at the WNBA, but we're going to give you a little quick rundown of the standings. First for the Eastern Conference, the Connecticut Sun are the lone undefeated team in the WNBA at 5-0. Second is the New York Liberty at 4-2, and then tied for third with Atlanta and Chicago at 2-2, the Indiana Fever at 5, and the Washington Mystics at 0-6. For the Western Conference, we got Elijah Mosher's Minnesota Lynx at 4-1. In the Western Conference, the Aces tagging just behind them at 3-1. The Phoenix Sun in third place at 3-2. The Dallas Stars and the Seattle Sun at 3-3. And then at the end, it's going to be the LA Sparks at 1-4, the Western Conference. So it's been an interesting start here to the WNBA season, but it's been fun to watch. But and some of the kind of the main stats here, I got the leader on points with Khalil Cooper of the Phoenix Sun averaging 29.2 points, Ogrike Agumbalale 28.8 points, and Asia Wilson of the Las Vegas Aces with 25.5, and rookie Cameron Brink is leading the WNBA in blocks at 3-2. But it's just been an interesting start to the WNBA season with all these new rookies playing, but honestly struggling to start off. But it's kind of expected being those top rookies on those lesser teams. But it was kind of interesting talking to my aunt Brenda Van Lingen this weekend. We were just kind of giving a little bit of a rundown of the WNBA and talking about Kate. Yeah, always got to with my but yeah, she was just kind of we were talking about Caitlin Clark and her struggles, but she kind of said the same exact thing. She needs to be patient and her time's eventually going to come. But we are also talking about expansion coming up with the WNBA, and I was saying it's just going to continue to grow because there's just a lot of good players right now that are getting cut off these WNBA rosters. And the one I was particularly saw was Jazz Shelley of Nebraska. Got cut for the Phoenix Sun, and we're going to see expansion here at the WNBA with a team coming in San Francisco, and then the year following it's going to be in Toronto. So I could see the WNBA continue to expand with a lot of these up to 5 to 6 players getting cut off this WNBA rosters. But it's going to be interesting to see the rest of the season of the WNBA and maybe possible expansion in the coming years.
Yeah, it's been really exciting to catch some WNBA games as of late. Really gonna be interesting. I even sent you a text this last week. I was like, "Are you watching this game on Ion?" Like, because that was Caitlin Clark's first win, and so I actually tuned into that because it just happened to be like one of the last sporting events of the night that was on national TV, and so have you found Ion on your TV?
I have not yet. I need to. I've been pretty busy working with my dad, and just got was uh traveling in Lincoln over the last 3 days. So maybe after the NBA game wraps up, I'll scroll through my TV and see if I can find her. Maybe do a little Google search for what channel is Ion on Allo.
All right, here we go. It's my turn. I'm taking it motorsport route. Motorsport Christmas was Sunday, and they call it Motorsport Christmas because it's some of the greatest and most prestigious races in all the motorsports on the Sunday of Memorial Day weekend. It starts off with the Monaco Grand Prix for Formula One in the morning, proceeds to the Indy 500, and then the Coca Cola 600. And what what's been really frustrating as of late for Formula One and Monaco is that the Monaco track just has not been as exciting as of late. And this race is a little bit of a snooze fest. I think the top 10 in qualifying finished as the top 10 in the actual race. Charles Leclerc got the win. So it was kind of a sluggish start, but then the Indy 500 came around and then rain hit. And so there's a big, massive delay before Joseph Newgarden came and took the Indy 500. He wins back to back. He's the first to do it since 2001 and 2002 when Helio Castroneves did it. Really huge thing for him. But the bigger story about the Indy 500 was the fact that Kyle Larson, the NASCAR Cup Series points leader heading into this weekend, was attempting to do the double. And so when that rain came, he opted to stay in Indy and do the Indy 500 and get to Charlotte when he can. And he was running like sixth most of the day. He qualified fifth, and then he ended up speeding on pit road and ended up finishing 18th. But he did finish on the lead lap. So really hope to see Kyle Larson back here in one of the next couple of years because that was really exciting to see. Their ratings came in today and they were up. So that was also really exciting. So Indy 500 definitely won the day. And then when the night came, it was the Coca Cola 600 and NASCAR Cup Series. And Christopher Bell won the race. I didn't catch a lot at the beginning because I was trying to watch the Indy 500. But whenever Kyle Larson was on a plane to Charlotte, He arrived at the racetrack. He helicoptered in. He took a golf cart to his pit stall. He got all geared up. He got his helmet on, and a caution came out for rain. And it was the most brutal thing ever. They'd completed over half the laps. Christopher Bell was leading. Justin Allgaier was his substitute driver, and he was driving like 14th at the time too. And so imagine what Larson could have been doing had he gotten that car. And unfortunately, the rain came as a severe thunderstorm. They delayed the race, hoping to get back underway. But then they started trying to dry the track. But with the high humidity, they actually were having a really tough time drying the track. And with how late it was going, and they still had like 200 or so miles left, they called the race right there without Kyle Larson even being able to take a lap. And it left a sour note 2 hours into delay that they called it after they started trying to dry it. And so it left a sour note into a lot of fans. And for a lot of fans, and because including mine, because I stayed up hoping to watch it, and unfortunately, it just ended right there. I really wanted to see what Kyle Larson could do, but um, yeah, that's our heat wave. That's our first blast. That is some more lesser toned sports that don't really get national media coverage, and we brought it for you. Now we can get into something that we missed last week. Last week we missed the fact that the Pro Volleyball Federation and its inaugural season, they finally have a champion. The Omaha Supernovas. As Nebraska people, I don't know how we missed this. I watched their semifinal match, but I was busy during the championship, and I still forgot that it happened. And so while Nebraska is a volleyball state, I definitely was watching the Supernovas at parts during the season. I went to the Supernovas game. It can still fall behind, and that's a struggle as an inaugural league and just trying to get started, Cade.
Yeah, 100%. But I really like that they made a league for professional volleyball. It just always kind of confused me growing up that there never was one, and I hope this league can stay funded and continue to grow throughout the years because this is a pretty big deal for people and a really exciting year for the Omaha Supernovas being able to finish on top this year. But like I hope to continue to see this team grow, and I maybe can go out to a game one of these times when they're back and playing again. Because this year I wasn't able to make it out to any, but it's pretty cool to out there and see, or pretty cool to see all the crowds that are coming out to the games at the CHI Center, and it's pretty awesome, honestly, for the inaugural season for how successful it was.
Yeah, I really hope that they continue success into the next year. But one of the tough things that will be is the fact that League One volleyball is going to start up. So you're going to have two volleyball leagues. It's going to be like the USFL and the XFL. And at some point, I feel like a merger is just going to be inevitable. We'll see if that happens, but it's going to be very interesting. And I'm really excited to see what the PVF does in the next year because there's a lot of great volleyball talent in America and internationally. And you saw some of those international players come to America to play in this league. And so that was really exciting. So we have to get them their mention because we did forget them last week. And now we can get into what some of you guys have probably waited almost 15 minutes for. We can get into the NBA. We're going to lead off with the Eastern Conference Finals. Boston is up 3 games to Indiana, and game 4 is happening right as we speak. Let me find out the score of that game here. And
68-65.
it took that from me. The Pacers are leading in the third quarter. This game might very well be over by the time we get done. And so there's a reason why I submitted my prediction parlay ahead of time. So I submitted it earlier to you today, and so we'll get into that later on. But this Tyrese Halliburton injuries kind of hurt the Pacers late game too, but they've found a way to be competitive even without him in games 3 and 4, it seems like.
Yeah, that was kind of when I saw that injury come up for Halliburton. I think that was yeah. Halliburton was for that game for game 3. I was like, oh, Pacers absolutely just have no chance at all. It's like they're gonna get swept. They're not gonna be competitive, but they were. They had they're I got the game pulled up on another screen, and there's a fight going on in the Pacers and Celtics game right now. Just as we speak, Miles Turner's getting the face of Jaylen Brown, but I was not expecting them to be competitive at all. I thought it was just going to be 15, 20 point blowout, but they were up. I think it was nearly 15 to 20 points there in that second half. And then the Celtics came storming back, and took the lead with about 35 seconds left and won it in game 3. So just the series, I would say on both sides, the series doesn't really tell a story, or doesn't really tell a story of what's actually going on. The Pacers kind of blew that game 1. They had 2 late turnovers there in the fourth quarter, and then they end up losing in overtime. And then in the third quarter, or in the fourth quarter of the game 3, they just went cold. And I feel like those are 2 games the Pacers easily could have won, but it doesn't tell the story because the Celtics were able to pull through and uh, take advantage of the Pacers' mistakes with Jaylen Brown hitting that corner 3 in game 1, and then just the whole Celtics team going on a tear in that game 3, and then game 2, just the Celtics being pretty dominant and wasn't much of a chance for the Pacers. But so it's kind of frustrating in a way, but the Celtics have been so dominant throughout these playoffs.
I have not watched a ton of the Eastern Conference Finals, not enough to know as much as you do, but from the sounds of it, it sounds a lot like the Western Conference Finals, which I'm gonna hate to get into. But Boston looking to close out that series tonight, or maybe last night if you're listening on Tuesday, May 28th. But it's gonna be interesting. No team in NBA history has ever come back from a 3-0 lead, and now you have two conference finals that both have a 3-0 lead. I mean, we expect this from the Celtics, but if you walked into the playoffs and before the quarterfinals even started, and you had said that a team was up 3-0 in the Western Conference Finals, I'm pretty sure actually, I'm going to say this. I think it'd be 99 out of 100 people would have said the Denver Nuggets were up on somebody 3-0. I'm not sure if there's really another team that you would expect to be up 3-0 in a series like the Dallas Mavericks are right now.
Yeah, that's 100% for me too. Because everybody was thinking, oh, it's the Nuggets. The Nuggets, after they kind of dismantled the Lakers a little bit in that first round, like, oh, they're just gonna run through the league again. And the Timberwolves obviously had something to say about that. But I feel like a lot of people severely underestimated this Dallas Mavericks team, including myself. They have looked solid throughout these playoffs, and they've been really fun to watch. But even just in general, like thinking about a team being up 3-0 right now in the Western Conference Finals, you would just in general, you would never even think about that. I would assume the Western Conference Finals would have been the series that would win 6 or 7 games, but it's obviously been the opposite as right now, or as of now. Maybe something could change, but it's just been they've been really great games, but it just kind of sucks to see both sides, one team being on the winning side of all those, obviously for you.
And I hate to get into this here. I've watched games 1, 2, and 3, and I've left each of those games turning off the TV, and as a Minnesota fan, just as in what just happened. I'm going to try to make my spiel quick this week, but we all know that this is what I care a lot more about. And I also got to put this submission out there. The Minnesota Timberwolves are in the Western Conference Finals for the first time in 20 years. On that team, this is a Nebraska connection that you missed, Cade. I'm not a huge Nebraska fan, but I still miss this too. But one of the people who was on that team 20 years ago was Fred Hoiberg, the current coach of the Nebraska Cornhuskers. Um, that's honestly kind of cool in my mind. And so, got to put that out there since we once again missed that last week. And now I can get into my spiel. The Minnesota Timberwolves should be up in this series like 2-1. I mean, there's no way that the Timberwolves, if you watch those games, should be down 3-0. I mean, you have to think that if you just watch one of those games or two of those games, you have to think the ball has to have fallen for them eventually at some point, or the ball is just keep going in, and yet it's also still not going on at the same time. And I think what we're seeing here with the Timberwolves and the Dallas series, what we're seeing between these two teams is you're seeing a team with two clutch players in Luka Doncic and Kyrie Irving, and zero right now for the Minnesota Timberwolves. I'm not including Anthony Edwards. I'm not including Karl-Anthony Towns in that. You know why? Because watching the series, they have not been able to prove it to me time and time again. And that's an experience thing. You can't come into this league right away and just be a clutch player from the moment you get going. Steph Curry didn't become Steph Curry in a day with Golden State Warriors. It takes time to develop into that. And you see Karl Anthony Towns taking really bad shots right now. You see Anthony Edwards failing to connect on a lot of things, and everything's just really disjointed. And it's really tough for me to watch. I said I was gonna make this quick, so I'll wrap this up here quickly. And really, why the Timberwolves are down? They just don't have that kind of experience. We mentioned it like last week that the Thunder got eliminated because they don't really have much experience and they're going up against a lot of it. You're seeing that same principle here. These teams are just a couple years away because they need that playoff experience that Luka and Kyrie have. You're also seeing this because of a lack of offense efficiency. The Timberwolves were shooting really well in their quarterfinal series against the Suns and their semifinal series against the Nuggets, but they are struggling to find consistency. I'm the one having speech problems this week. Shooting the ball and in the series. And so now that's what you're being faced with. And then a defense that just looks up and treads. And it's not a fault of just not trying different things. They've tried like 5 different looks trying to guard Doncic and Kyrie, but that's the clutch factor that they have. There's a reason Luka Doncic was number 3 in MVP voting. He's shown why. And they're just coming up making shots time and time again. And the Timberwolves just can't find the right coaching adjustments to get the defense, the number one defense all year, to control this Mavericks offense. And so that's what I think you're really looking at here. And I'm not sure if that's a fair evaluation for you, but I mean, that's what I'm seeing.
Yeah, they can't find any way to stop Kyrie Irving and Luka Doncic. Luka, they can both just go ISO one-on-one against the Timberwolves defense and honestly can't really do anything about it. I feel like every time I see Kyrie Irving shooting the ball, if I'm not paying attention, I look up and he's making a crazy floater shot. Kyrie Irving has completely changed how he's played over the last couple of years. All Kyrie's looks a little washed. He's doesn't have it like he used to when he was playing with LeBron and the Cavaliers, but he has completely changed everybody's thoughts in these playoffs. He's been absolutely clutch for them throughout these playoffs, playing his heart out on defense and offense, making these crazy sidestep threes and these Euro step layups through the Minnesota Timberwolves defense. But it's just tough for the Timberwolves when you have to go up against a Luka Doncic and a Kyrie to try and stop them. But yeah, with the Minnesota Timberwolves offense, I think I saw a stat, and I think it was Charles Barkley talking about it, where Karl Anthony Towns is 4 of 32 from the 3-point line. And I think Karl Anthony Towns just needs to, I don't know, I think he just needs to, I wouldn't say necessarily stop shooting, but try to do something else. Like it's obviously not working in the playoffs and in these series. He hasn't been very consistent from the 3-point line. He's a bigger guy. Like he needs to drive to the rim. Like now that Derek Lively is out, I don't expect him to come back. I don't know how long he's going to be out for with his neck injury, but I feel like Karl Anthony Towns needs to get to the rim. He needs to draw contact at the rim and maybe get some free throws, get some easy points. I think Anthony Edwards started doing that in these last couple games, but Anthony Edwards can't do it all. And we've kind of been seeing that he's been kind of the main vocal point on offense, and he needs his running mate Karl Anthony Towns to kind of step up with him. But playoff people were kind of talking about the playoff experience. It's maybe not that big of a deal, but it's kind of showing in these playoffs, definitely with the Thunder and the Timberwolves. Playoff experience obviously matters, and with the Mavericks team, they're showing that they do have playoff experience here so far.
Yeah, and I'll just touch on this here quickly. And I talk about that experience, and I heard Shaq talk about it last night. It's not so much just watching them in game; it's hearing them talk afterwards. Cat was talking about I put up a lot of shots and I'm just getting some unlucky bounces. You don't ever hear that from a shooter. Like it just and he just like we're still better than them. This isn't over yet. He's not angry, and it just seems like they aren't really coming to terms with what's happening, and they're still kind of flying blind to the real problem here, and that's kind of the issue. They're not like as Shaq was saying, after Kobe played a bad game, you wouldn't talk to him. Like it doesn't seem like they're getting frustrated and willing to play angry, which is what they need. And because that's what a superstar player is going to do. If a game is not working out their way, they're going to get angry and they're going to work 10 times harder. and we're not seeing that. Maybe Shaq. That's the truth from Shaq. Who knows? But it looks like they're gonna get swept here. Kyrie Irving is undefeated in closeout games in his incredibly long history. It's hard to believe that he's still undefeated in closeout games. But I mean, hey, game 4 tomorrow night, Tuesday night. We got a long show today, so we gotta keep on moving. Next up, the NHL Eastern Conference Finals. Um, the New York Rangers are up 2-1 on the Florida Panthers from what I've been gathering from that. It's been a very close series, very tight. Lots of good action happening right now. I believe they're also in action, and so let me look that up. No, I'm off. The Stars are in action tonight. That's the Western Conference Finals. But have you been able to catch any of this series, Cade?
I have not. I've seen clips on some sports media pages on Instagram and Snapchat, seeing that the Rangers have been playing very solid hockey throughout the whole entire playoffs and in the series. Kind of losing that first game 3-0, then bouncing back in these last two games in an overtime thriller, winning 5-4 in their last game. But I've been it was a pretty busy weekend, so I was even just kind of struggling even watching these NBA games. But these NHL playoffs have been really back and forth in both the series.
Yeah, I haven't been watching too much of that because their games line up with Timberwolves games most of the time, and so
Mhm.
I'm watching those. On the Western Conference side, the Dallas Stars and the Edmonton Oilers are tied up at a game apiece. We picked Game 7 for the Oilers and Connects last week. You picked the Oilers. You were right. We both picked them off of connections to people we know. We're fans of these other teams, so I'm not sure how realistic and great those picks were, but hey, they worked out. Right now, the Dallas Stars and Edmonton Oilers in game number 3 are in this midway through the second period, tied at 2 goals apiece. And this is another series that seems to be going a little bit back and forth. I haven't heard as much from this one, but I don't know. It's Western Conference Finals, and we're talking Dallas again. It makes me feel very good. Not.
Yeah, 100%. Or well, if you're from the Dallas Fort Worth area, it's definitely a huge time in sports for the people down there. But I did get to watch a little bit of the Edmonton Oilers and the Canucks in the. I watched the whole first half and then midway through the second half, and the Oilers absolutely just dominated the shots on goal, and which ended up winning them that series. But the Canucks had a late surge there in that end of that game, but the Oilers were absolutely dominant. But I could see this series definitely going all the way till the end. The Dallas Stars kind of a couple of those games against the Avalanche in the series before were just it was like they were scoring 5-6 goals a game nearly every game in that series. But it's been interesting to watch or interesting to see these scores and when playoff hockey comes around, it gets pretty intense. So pretty fun environment to play in for all four of those teams.
And keeping it moving here today. Like I said, busy news week, and we got a big next segment coming up. You won't want to miss that. College softball, they're down to the final 8 teams. The Women's College World Series. Texas, Oklahoma, Oklahoma State, Duke, Stanford, Florida, Baylor, and Alabama are the final 8 teams left. So Oklahoma City, the final 8 teams will take place. And Cade, who is your favorite? Texas, the 1 seed, Oklahoma, the 2 seed, and then there's the field.
I'll have to look. I don't know. I don't really want to pick Texas or Oklahoma. They're old Big 12 rivals of Nebraska, but I feel like it's got to be one of those teams that's probably going to win. I feel like I'm going to go with defending champs in Oklahoma.
You know, we were just talking about in my house a couple nights ago. Texas A&M was on game to their super regional. Texas A&M had a chance to eliminate Texas, and I turned around and told my mom, I don't like Texas A&M. I'd rather Texas win this game. And she's like, why don't you like Texas A&M? And I'm like, I don't know. But somewhere along the line, I got in my head that I don't like Texas A&M. If I had to come up with my 5 least favorite teams, I created this list this last week. It's Iowa, Wisconsin, then it's Oklahoma, then who was the other team that I had on there? And then number 5 was Texas A&M, and I got to figure out who that 4th team was, and seem pretty obvious to me when I see it. Number 4 is Texas A&M, and number 5 was Michigan. I don't know why I don't like Michigan. I don't know why I don't like Texas A&M. But hey, that's what it is, and that's what we're going with. And my pick, final year of the Pac-12, I'm gonna go with the champions of Women's College World Series and being Stanford. How do you like
I
that?
like that pick. I think I'm gonna root. Oh shoot, that's a good one. I should have. I will definitely on the outside be rooting for Stanford as well. Seeing them hit that walk-off home run, the run rule. They run ruled LSU in that final game we were watching. That was on the TV, and then we had the game that went into extra innings in Tennessee and Alabama. Went to 14 innings. They played 2 softball games in one game, and then Alabama was able to come out on top in that one. But speaking about least favorite teams, I think I gotta make. I think I gotta make a list now for my least favorite teams off the top of my head. Since now that you did it, I feel like I have to join the party. I'm saying I'll go most hated to my least hated for my top 5. Number 1 is Colorado, and that's I do not like Colorado at all. I'll also Iowa at 2, and then I'll go with Texas at 3. Texas, we're still upset about the one. Well, there's 1 second left on the clock, and I've never really liked Texas since then, but I've kind of gotten over it a little bit. And we'll say 4 Wisconsin. Oh, I have a friend from high school that's a Wisconsin fan, and they've always just beat us, so Wisconsin's got to be number 4 there. And for a 5th team, I feel like you just got to go for football wise, Alabama. Nobody likes Alabama. They're just too dominant. I don't like Alabama. That's my top 5 most hated teams in college.
That is
college
great. Also gotta give props to Duke. Duke qualified for their first ever Women's College World Series, defeating Missouri. Also gotta pivot over to the baseball diamond. The men's bracket came out this afternoon. The Huskers are in the regional with Oklahoma State. Lots of different things happening. TCU was left out pretty shockingly. They had some pretty high numbers whenever I saw them give out the first 4 out and the last 4 in. A little shocked not to see them there. Lots of different leads there. Tennessee's the number 1 overall team. Texas A&M the number 2 overall team. I was kind of hoping Nebraska would get put with Texas A&M, but I don't know if you have the bracket pulled up right in front of you. But before we get into the Huskers specifically, what do you really see looking at that bracket?
I just kind of noticed Nebraska's matchup. I mean, I like looking through just a lot of like when they were just talking about regionals and they were like Oklahoma State's the 1 seed of this regional on a Twitter page, and I was just looking through the comments, and a lot of people were upset with Florida making it to the regionals of the.
Well, they had like a 500 record.
Yeah, they're 500. I understand that they are in the SEC, but with a 500 record, a team like TCU getting left out over a Florida team that has a 500 record, I think that is just very unfair, and it really kind of shows back to our SEC. We've talked about the SEC bias that the NCAA has, and I just think that's really unfair to a lot of other schools out there that were more deserving.
And this is the age-old question anytime you create a bracket for something. Do you want the 64 best teams to your human eye, or do you want the 64 teams that you would think deserve to be there? There you go. That's the word I'm looking for. The 64 teams that deserve to be there most. Because if you're looking at deserve to be there most, TCU isn't over Florida in a heartbeat, in my opinion. But it goes back to college football as well. Because we saw undefeated Florida State get left out because the selection committee felt like Alabama was a better team. And whenever we come to these selection tournaments, I know the thing is you want to select the 64 best teams. I'd rather them select the 64 most deserving teams. There's a reason why we have automatic bids. Because we can argue all day that the teams that are getting the automatic bid, no offense to the SWAC or like Conference USA or any of those, but they're not going to produce a national champion. I don't think they're one of the best 64 teams out there. I think we need to get to a point where we are choosing the 64 most deserving teams.
I agree with you 100%. They're a little, or I don't know about, but yeah, football wise, for the cultural playoff, I was not on the side of Florida State being in to the
They should have put them in.
to that Final Four, because I knew that they were just going to get absolutely smoked
I don't
by
care.
whoever it was that was the
Undefeated.
number one seed. Yeah, I don't know. Absolutely
UCF
not. Even with
2019 or 2017, whatever that was.
Yeah, I feel like
Undefeated, put 'em in.
UCF was more deserving than Florida State was, in my opinion. Florida State was
Ah.
barely beat a lot of teams throughout the year. They were not that great of a team. They
I don't
limped
care.
by
They found a way to win.
It don't matter. They would have got lost. Look what happens when we have the most deserving teams in the college football playoff. We have 38-0. We have 31-0.
Well, good news. We're moving up to 12 teams. Good news.
Yep, and now we don't have to worry about that anymore, and there's not going to be as much controversy. But we obviously saw what happened to Florida State and the Orange Bowl.
Let's go back to baseball. Let's go back to they opted out a lot of players. Okay.
Yeah. Don't
give me the silence.
Instead of losing by 60, they would have lost by 45. Okay, there you go. You get your little props there for Florida State. Even with Jordan Travis, Georgia's winning by 30 plus points. Florida State was
maybe. I'd rather let them have the chance. But back to the baseball diamond. Just always different things that you see there. And SEC set a record for the most teams that have ever qualified for the NCAA baseball tournament from a single conference. And so I continue to think that that is sad to see. Moving on, the Huskers won the Big Ten championship after losing their first game in 7 innings to the number 7 seed. So congratulations to the Huskers, I guess. Once again, they cannot play a midweek game, but hey, they won it all. And I think that's their first ever tournament title in the Big Ten. So,
yeah, first ever tournament title for the Huskers. And it was actually the last time a team lost their first game and was able to come back and win the championship. The last time that was done was by 2009 Minnesota. So there's a stat for you. That's what they said during the broadcast. But during that first game, they allowed 15 runs, and then throughout the rest of the tournament, Nebraska allowed 11 runs. I think that number is correct there, but which was an interesting stat to note. But Nebraska's pitching was the reason they were so dominant throughout the losers bracket. The pitching stepped up for Nebraska, and that's what kind of led them all the way, and then just kind of dominating Indiana in back-to-back games. Then what a great finish that Penn State game was, with Nebraska getting a solo homer earlier in the game. I think what am I forgetting? Why am I blanking on how we scored? I think was it a 2-run homer? It was either a 2-run homer and hit off the wall, or yeah, we homered, and then
I don't know
next
who this
one,
we is, but you can go ahead.
I'm saying we as in Nebraska. I'm not talking about you. I'm talking about me and with the people that are on. I can't see the camera. Me and Nebraska. But
Kade just has to show off his Husker pinky.
The final out of the top of the 9th inning was a home run robbed by Penn State. So that was it was just a really exhilarating finish there for in that Big Ten championship game between Nebraska and Penn State. But I honestly like the region that we got here for Nebraska. We got Oklahoma State in our region, but it'll be a tough matchup against Florida. But I'm hoping Nebraska travels well. It's down in Stillwater, Lincoln to Stillwater. I think it's only about a 6 or 7 hour drive, so I'm expecting to see a pretty solid crowd.
Are you going to drive down there?
Nebraska comes down there. I will not be driving down there. I'm sick of driving back-to-back weekends.
That's what I thought.
I don't live in Lincoln, but and I don't really feel like spending gas money with my final rent payment coming up here at the end of the month. But I'm hoping to see a lot of Nebraska fans down there, and it's going to be an exciting weekend.
And you brought up regions, and that just made me think back to watching the selection show. And in that Texas A&M regional, Texas also ended up in that regional. I was like, come on, they could have just thrown in Nebraska, and that would have been an all-time regional. I would have been having fun with that. But we do have to end this segment on a little bit of a sad note. The final Pac-12 champion was crowned in baseball. Arizona defeated USC, and that's right before the Pac-12 officially just dies off. I think that date is July 1st, and that leads into the announcement today from the NBA that Bill Walton has passed away after his battle from cancer. I know that watching ESPN and Pac-12 After Dark or the Maui Invitational won't be the same without him. I mean, he always brought in all this fun energy, and you never knew what to expect. You're always going to have fun. And I even saw it out there. I saw lots of tweets today memorializing him and eating a lit candle. That was kind of funny. But I mean, there's just so many things. And like they say that you don't tune into a broadcast to listen to us broadcasters. You just don't typically do that unless you're family of the broadcaster. But Bill Walton was one of those that you would tune in to watch and listen to because he was just such a joy, great Celtics legend as well, and he will be deeply missed.
Yeah, they were talking about for Bill Walton, with him passing away of cancer. It's more we're gonna miss Bill Walton as the person instead of Bill Walton as the basketball player or a public figure. But Bill Walton as a person, you never really knew what to expect with him on a broadcast, like you said, being goofy and having his weird sayings and never knowing what's gonna come out of his mouth. But he did so many things for so many people and outside of the basketball court and just always making everybody feel like they mattered and showing that he really cared about a lot of different people and tried to put a smile on everybody's face with everything that he did and his funny, goofy side that he always had. But he'll be dearly missed. Listen to him on Pac-12 broadcast and on the West Coast there at 10 o'clock at night or however late it was watching or listen to Bill Walton with his tie-dye shirt on or Hawaiian shirt in Maui calling basketball games. But he'll be missed dearly by a lot of people that were close to him, and then just us not really knowing him personally, but knowing him personally through the TV screen, listening to him. So he'll be missed for sure.
Very well, and that's very well said too, Cade. And the sports world not only lost Bill Walton today, but the PGA world lost Grayson Murray over the weekend as well. And this is also another sad topic to talk about. He was competing this weekend on the PGA Tour, and he withdrew with an illness, and he will be missed. And it's really hard to describe the situation that went through, and just to see such a young guy go through that. He was only 30 years old, and I can't comprehend it, and I don't really have a ton of words to say because I have to think of them. And while Bill Walton also passed today as a legendary icon, we also had this up and coming icon as well, and it definitely breaks the heart of a lot of his friends on the tour and just a lot of people that knew him. And
Yeah, you just don't know what people like that are really going through. In his past interviews, he talked about he dealt with anxiety and depression and how he always felt like he was a burden toward his own parents, which you never have to feel that way ever because your parents, you have both your mom and dad. Those are the people that you go and talk to if you ever are feeling this type of way. So just you don't really know what was ever really going on through his head, but you saw multiple golf names and I think it was the winner on the Corn Ferry Tour kind of were recognizing him and just kind of that there's always somebody to talk to and you don't have to keep your feelings in like that. So just kind of a sad story knowing that he withdrew on Friday and then just days later this happened. So it's just a very sad story and something just not for just the regular person but for athletes to use their platform and you can talk to anybody and it's just you hate to see somebody do something like this with such a promising thing or future that he had coming up for him. So it's very heartfelt, I would, for people. around or around golf and just anyone in
And I know this is a sad way to end off our first segment, but I do want to remind people that the National Suicide Hotline number is 988. So please get help if you're having those thoughts. So we got more Bringing the Heat coming up next. Got a special interview with one of the players on the UNK women's tennis team. So keep on listening, and we got more Bringing the Heat coming up after this.
Life can get complicated. Sometimes it's overwhelming.
Telehealth and in-person visits, personal and group counseling. Talking with a mental health counselor can provide a safe, neutral, and confidential setting to help you explore your options. To schedule an appointment at the UNK Student Counseling Clinic, visit unk.edu. For emergencies, call 308-865-8248.
It's time to take control of your health by knowing the ingredients in your food.
For example, the ingredient listed as natural flavors may not be as natural as you think. In fact, the end product of this ingredient could be composed of up to 100 different chemicals. Natural flavors are found in most processed foods and are a huge contributor to food allergies and sensitivities.
Some other common ingredients that are linked to a multitude of health problems include red 40, titanium dioxide, and sodium phosphate, and that only names a few.
Bottom line, know your ingredients. For a more comprehensive list of common ingredients and their impact, please visit foodbabe.com/ingredients to avoid.
Back here on Bringing the Heat, Elijah Mosher alongside Cade Moore. Time to get into the Loper Roundup. And Cade, we have to start off with this. This is where we've been the last couple of weeks. The UNK women's tennis team, they actually made it all the way to the Elite Eight. Best finish in school history. Really exciting stuff there down in Florida, Cade.
Yeah, definitely a milestone for the tennis team. Getting that match win down in Florida. It's really exciting for Loper tennis and Loper sports as a whole to be able to go down and do that and represent UNK well.
Yeah, first match they took down Azusa Pacific 4-1, and then they lost to the eventual runners-up and the Barry Buccaneers 4-0 down in Orlando. And you know what's really exciting, Cade? We got Melisa Becerra joining us now. Melissa, first off, I just want to ask you, how was Florida?
It was good. It was very humid. Very different weather conditions from what we're used to here in Nebraska. But it was a very remarkable moment for all of us. Yeah, it was pretty nice.
And you mentioned that humidity. What was that like going from playing a lot of Nebraska Central USA and then just heading down to Orlando and all of a sudden you have to deal with the heat and the humidity?
Well, it was a challenge. It was a challenge, but I feel that we all were aware of those things. First thing that coach told us as soon as we won, it was like we better prepare for the conditions that we're gonna face. So the week prior, we did a lot of running. We did a lot of working out with the highest temperatures during the day. But yeah, it was great though. After the first day of practice there in Florida, I feel that we all responded very well to the conditions.
Yeah, that must have been a big change there. Playing from here, just even going down just a state down to Kansas, it's a lot more humid. So I couldn't imagine how humid it was down in Florida, especially in this time of the year. But kind of how is it like as a outside of the tennis as a bonding experience? Like it's some of your guys' last time being a part of Loper tennis. You guys is kind of your last hurrah. How was like going down on a trip all the way down to Florida? How was like that bonding experience as a team?
Well, for me, it was like exiting through the big door. Like it was my last season. I'm graduating this summer, and I feel that the experience itself was just like unique because it was a festival. It was a championship festival, so it wasn't like solely tennis. We had lacrosse, we had golf, we had softball going on at the same time in Orlando, Florida. So I feel that we got treated like princesses. We got treated so well. Besides having the opportunity to compete and face really good players, we just really experienced like a great tournament in general. So yeah, it was very prestigious. even with the officials, the services that they were offering, it was very, very nice. Definitely, it makes me nostalgic to think about it, but it's one of the greatest memories that I have of my career. So yeah.
And you mentioned that festival too. I even saw this on Twitter. Like you guys were awarded an award down there in Orlando for having like the highest team GPA. What was that kind of like? That had to have been a pretty cool experience
Oh,
too.
I literally every time I talk about this, I tell the person, I'm like, this is like one of my greatest memories because first of all, they took us. The open ceremony was in a club. It was in a club, but it was like a big, massive club. And when we were there, it was full of people because all of the athletes or all of the teams were there, and even like sponsors were there. So it was pretty prestigious. And when they were naming the award recipients, tennis was the last sport. And with my teammates, we were like, no, we're not gonna win this. Like the teams prior, they were all wearing the same shirts. We were all wearing different stuff. So we were like, that's probably planned. They already knew about it. We didn't get informed, so we're not gonna win it. We were the last ones. And we were literally about to leave, and then they call us. They were like, University of Nebraska at Kearney, highest GPA award. We were like, no way. We walked down the stage, and I took the plaque of my coach's hands. I was like, give me that, and I put it on my hands, and we were all very astonished by it. It was pretty funny, but it was great. It was great. A great recognition for sure.
Yeah, that must have been quite the shock. Seeing all
Yeah,
those other teams like with all their formal gear, formal like shirts and everything
yeah,
on. You guys were just like, yeah, we're just here, but yeah, it's ours. We got it though.
yeah. You're
Had
right.
been a super really good memory. But what do you think? So now this is the first time you guys ever made to the national championships and winning a match there down there in Orlando. So what do you mean? So you're not going to be a part of the team next year, but what do you think this means for Loper tennis moving forward in the future?
Wow, I think it's just first of all, it's like a living proof of the the evolution of the program, right? I got here almost 4 years ago in a winter, straight from Colombia just to play some tennis. And the team dynamic used to be very different. And I feel the way the team was also perceived in our conference, in our region, was very different. So now this is setting up the stage for future loopers and the girls that might come in the future to actually continue that legacy that the seniors and the juniors right now have built up. So yeah, it's very exciting. I think that was the goal that we wanted to accomplish when we first got there with my fellow seniors and Coach Schaefer, and we made it. We made it happen, and I'm very excited for what's next for the future of the program. It's also appealing for players from all areas of the country and all areas of the world to look at the program and look how nice things have turned out recently, just to come and give it a try.
I want to back up a little bit too, because we skipped to Orlando, but we missed the really cool part ahead of that too. I mean, you guys went to a conference tournament, finished runners up to Missouri Western. Were you expecting to end up as the number one overall seed in the Central region?
No, no, not at all. Even like winning the regular season, it was quite a surprise because we do have a very competitive conference. Like, I will say that it's one of the most competitive ones in the country. And like the regular season was a little bit confusing because teams were winning against teams that they were supposed to lose to, and other teams were losing against other teams that they were supposed to win. So I feel that we did the right thing. We did the right thing, and that set us up for the best outcome. And even though conference itself didn't go the way we wanted to the last day, I feel that we did what we were supposed to, and that allowed us to get that ranking.
All right, I want to follow up on that too because with getting that number one ranking, you guys hosted the a region at Harmon Park, and I unfortunately had to work, so I wasn't able to be there. But I mean, can you just tell me what that was like to be able to host an NCAA tournament region match at Harmon Park? I mean, that like I've seen the videos, like it looked like it was really fun.
It was insane. I've always loved home matches. I've always appreciated the Carney community. It always it always feels so nice to play at home and especially at Harmon. But I don't know, and it was such a crazy match too. It was a high level tennis match that we had to fight for it. So it was a really nice experience, and I feel that just playing at Harmon and playing at Kearney really helped us achieve that goal, get that ticket punch. Um, so yeah, I'm forever grateful for being able to host it and also experiencing that moment there.
Yeah, that's been really awesome to be able to host an event like that in Kearney with all your guys' hard work throughout the season and with being the or being the regular season champs in the MIAA and being number one in the Central Region. How much has Scott Schaefer, the head coach, for affected your guys' success over the last couple of years?
Well, I feel that I have complete admiration for that guy. He hasn't only been my coach; he has been a father figure for me. He really showed me my worth, not only as a player but as a human being, and as a student as well. So I've seen him very stressed because he not only has a women's tennis team, he also has a men's tennis team, which is a new factor that came up this season. And I feel that the work that he did with our assistant coach Caleb was pretty neat, pretty cohesive, because he was able to strategically play by the rules of the game and find what was best for us and find what was gonna work the best in terms of the lineups, in terms of the matchup confrontations that we had. They Because it's a very complex job. I think they not only have to think about us as players, but they also have to analyze and research the other teams, to see what can be the best option for us during our game days. So I think that Scott has been working on this since a while ago, and we all as a team have faced so many hardships and so many difficult moments, but his resilience and his passion to keep pushing the team forward really showed up this season.
All right, I want to ask you this. It's been a long mystery to both of us on how tennis dual scoring works. Like, we know the basic 15, 30, 40, you get a point.
Yeah, that's
But
fair.
we're trying to figure out team scoring. And finally, like, I think I finally figured it out. So I want you to clarify this for me.
Sure.
So you guys play 1, 2, and 3 doubles. That's
Mhm.
a best 2 out of 3 for a point, correct?
Yeah, just 1 point exactly.
And then you play 1 through 6 doubles up until the point till a team reaches 4 points.
Exactly. Each singles match is 1 point as a total. So the team that reaches the first 4 points wins the whole confrontation.
I figured it out, Kate. I cracked the code. That is very hard to understand if you're ever looking at it, by the
Yeah,
way, Melissa.
trust me. Yeah, I've been able to explain that to so many people because it's quite confusing.
Well, now you explained it to a lot more. And I want to ask you this: you guys collected up a lot of hardware this year. You had a sportsmanship and leadership award. You had some regional honors as well. But you also ended up with the UNK Female Athlete of the Year award at the annual Louis Awards.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a huge honor. And so, out of all your awards, I just want to hear what it was like to earn such a big honor and what it was like to have such an award-winning season.
Well, it was. I remember the moment like perfectly, and I feel that I'm gonna remember that for the rest of my life. But I mean, there's so many competent and hardworking student athletes at UNK. I am not the only one. but of course being recognized, and um it was like a reminder of all the things that we have done, and all the effort that I have put into this. But it's at the end of the day, it hasn't been just me. My work compromises my teammates and how they have helped me to continue. And so yeah, it was really nice. It was really nice. I feel that I'm gonna treasure that moment for the rest of my life, and I'm gonna treasure that little trophy that they gave me for the rest of my life, because UNK really offered me one of the greatest academic and athletic experiences that I could have ever asked. So I feel that my hard work was to honor that, and that recognition really reminded me of this past few years.
Yeah, congratulations on that award. That was had to
Thank
been
you.
very like a full circle moment with all the hard work that you've done here at UNK, and with UNK tennis being the first time you guys ever made it to the D2 national championships. What does it feel like to be a part of history for UNK women's tennis?
It feels, I don't know. It Of course it's a combination of a bunch of positive and encouraging feelings. I feel that at this point I haven't really assimilated that the journey is over, but I am. It's an honor. It's an honor to have contributed to that milestone, and I'll continue I'll continue cheering and rooting for the team for the rest of my life. You know, I'm pretty sure I'm gonna keep in touch, and I'm excited to see the great things that these girls can achieve in the future, and not only the girls, also the guys. So I'm very excited for the program and the athletic department.
You mentioned the guys right there. I want to ask you about this since you've been there at UNK for a while. And what has it been like seeing the men's tennis team come back and really start to get going again? Because you're one of those who's been from a really student side. You have a really good angle of how what that was like and how it's going. And so I'm just curious to see your side of it.
Yeah, it was a drastic change for sure. I mean, we went from just being used to a very small group to now being 22, you know. But it's very exciting. I feel that having such a complete program like tennis program, it's really nice to have at Kearney, and it represents a lot for the university. So it was a change, and changes are not bad. Changes they help us a lot to learn things about ourselves and learn things about the group that we are um, participating in. So yeah, I feel that um, despite the season, it was a really good season for a team that had just started. You know, I'm grateful for those kids that came. It's like just see it from a perspective of like a perspective student athlete being like, hey, yeah, this is a brand new program. Come, it's hard. It's a difficult decision, because when you want to go to a college, or when you want to be part of a team, you're hoping to see something settle, you know. So I'm really proud of the guys that made the decision, and I was able to witness their hard work and their discipline this past year. And I'm very excited. I'm very excited for what's next, and I'm sure coaches are gonna continue adapting and setting up what's best for the team.
All right. So, how long have you been playing tennis?
Since I was 5 years old, so
That's a long time.
yeah, yeah, most of my life, exactly.
All right, I gotta say this. As a person who's not a huge tennis fan, I can't really get into it. What
That's fair.
is your pitch and your appeal to tennis?
Tennis is so fun. Like, trust me, it was really hard for me to like college tennis completely reshaped my relationship with the sport. And it made me realize how fun and how entertaining it is. So yeah, for me, what appeals me the most is, first of all, how complete the sport is. You like looking at like a wellness perspective, you touch all the points when it comes to exercising, all the muscles, all the cardio that you need. And it's also a very complex sport when it comes to technique, strategic um, situations, the management of time, your patience, your mental toughness. But what I liked the most about tennis and what allowed me to keep going was that I wasn't touching my opponent. I tried taekwondo. Sometimes one day a kid hit me really hard on the chest, and after that I was like, I'm not doing anything that involves me touching my opponent. So tennis, you pretty much have to be smart about it. Have to be smart about it, and you're never touching your opponent or being violent against your opponent. So that was what for allowed me to keep going tennis. But there's so many things that really allows you to see the beauty within it.
All right, I got just a couple more questions for you. First off, you just graduated. So what's next for you?
I graduated this August.
August, okay, I'll get that right.
Yeah, right now I'm gonna start an internship just to finish up the few credits I have left in Omaha. And the goal is to go to graduate school next year. I want to pursue my doctorate in political science. And meanwhile, I'm just gonna apply for my OPT, which is my optional practical training as an international student, work for a year, and hopefully start grad school next year, 2025.
That's really cool to hear. I do got a couple more fun questions for you though.
Sure.
Can you tell me why, in your best guess,
Okay.
why does tennis go 15, 30, 40? Where does that come from?
Oh my gosh. You got me there. I have no idea. No.
It does not make any sense whatsoever.
I have honestly I have no idea.
All right. So we'll leave it off with this. You're a tennis player. French Open is happening right now. Do you have a French Open pick?
I think for girls, for the women, I'm a big Sabalenka player from Belarus. I think that she embodies a lot of the type of game that I have. She's very aggressive. So I'm going for Sabalenka. And for the men, I'm a big Jannik Sinner fan. I don't know. He's from Italy. He recently won the which one? US Open? I think I don't know. A big tournament. He has won a lot of things, but he's young, he's very mature for his age. He's a great competitor, great player. So I'm always rooting for Jannik Sinner. So yeah, those are my main picks for the US Open. Roland Garros. Oh my gosh.
Well, we can't thank you enough for joining us, Melissa. That was a lot of fun.
Of course. Thank you guys. And thank you for having me. I appreciate that.
All right. We'll have a little bit more Bringing the Heat for you guys coming up next.
Nearly 50% of the American population suffers from a mental illness. We here at UNK know that life in young adulthood can take a toll on one's mental health. Do not feel ashamed, for we know you are not alone. My grandfather recently passed away, and it was really hard for me to focus on my studies. It was killing me. However, deciding to go to the UNK Health and Council building was one of the best decisions I've ever made.
I'm taking 17 credit hours and handling a near full-time job. My anxiety has been shooting through the roof. Thankfully, I was able to get quality counseling at UNK and got back to my routine with a sense of peace.
And I'm able to continue my studies with a smile, just as my grandfather would have intended. You are not alone, and we're here for you at UNK. If you are feeling mentally unwell, we encourage you to visit the UNK Health and Counseling building on campus. Feel free to call us for an appointment at 308-865-8218. That's 308-865-8218.
Back here on Bringing the Heat, Elijah Moser alongside Kade Moore. And I don't know about you, Kate, but I really enjoyed talking to Melisa Becerra. Glad she could join us. And I know this has been a long episode already, but it was just really cool to get her unique angle on things.
Yeah, it was interesting to see her perspective on her experiences down in Orlando and her experiences here at UNK and how they've affected her as a person. And it was just really cool to hear about all of her stories here at UNK and how everything that she's done is really going to benefit her into her future.
All right, and that's not the only low sport that we have to catch up on. So I know we normally do our prediction panel parlay. We'll get to that in a sec, but we'll get into the results from the Loper men's and women's track team. They're down in Emporia State competing in the track and field, the D2 Outdoor Track and Field Championships. And day one, Lily Novosek finished 15th in the hammer throw. I believe she was the only one to go on to compete on Thursday. Then on Friday, trying to figure out where all those results are at. Figure out where that's at. All right, so Nolan Studley finished 10th in. I can't keep finding these. In the high jump, Braden Sorensen finished 11th. And I believe that was all that competed on Friday. Then on Saturday, I will save Ferguson towards the end. I did not organize these very well, as I probably should have. Wow, I can't find these at all. Rylan Bassart repeated as a All-American in the javelin, and he finished 8th place. And Brianna Russell finished 17th, while Sydney Davis, also a UNK volleyball player, finished 20th in the high jump. And then Alex Homan finished 18th in the pole vault. And then finally, the one and only Wes Ferguson, now a 9-time All-American, won the 800-meter race once again by almost a full second. And it's just crazy what he does. And I can't believe he has won 3 straight of those now. And he'll run again at the U.S. Olympic Trials in Eugene in June. And just, man, actually he won his 5th 800-meter national title. I got to read all these correctly. But, Kate, I just listed off all these amazing achievements for these lopers. And once again, really cool to see them wrap up their season. And now I think I can finally say that the Loper 2023-24 athletic season has concluded.
Yeah, it's been a great year for Loper Sports. With lots of things. They did good throughout the year, and it's been really fun covering them here on Bringing the Heat and on the student-run radio station KLPR. So it's been a fun year talking about him. And but Wes Ferguson doing what Wes Ferguson does, just being dominant in that 800-meter dash. Meet in and meet out, he is getting first place at these meets, and he does it again at the national championships down in Emporia. I think that was correct.
Mm-hmm.
I think that was right. And the funny thing was, my little bit of a off topic, but the Kansas high school state track and field championships were also in Emporia at the same time. My cousin was down there watching his girlfriend compete in the long jump for Elite the North. So it's kind of cool they have those events going on simultaneously down there. But I'm excited to see what Wes Ferguson does at the Olympic Trials in Eugene, Oregon, at a beautiful track there in Eugene, Oregon, the track capital of the world, people say. So I'm really excited to see what he does, and that would be super cool to see him possibly even make it to the Olympics and qualify. That'd be super cool as seeing a loper compete at the Olympics.
Yeah, I've had friends that have competed in Eugene, and that's just a really cool experience for them as well. And I mean, you guys got on me during the spring about bringing up different Minnesota things. You're talking about high school track in Kansas, so I'm gonna pin that on you here and just turn the tables a little bit. But it's time to get into the prediction panel parlay. So far, our parlay results have not came through to fruition. Leading off with mine from last week, I said that Kyle Larson would finish top 5 in the Indy 500 and Coke 600. Well, He never even got running in the Coke 600, so that was very disappointed. And so I really want to consider myself 0 for 0, but I guess I'll take 1 in the L column. And Cade, you thought that both Boston and Minnesota would win their first 2 games of their conference finals, and the Timberwolves kind of choked on that one for you.
Yeah, the Timberwolves did not expect that at all. Really underestimated the Mavericks. But hey, maybe we'll see something.
Who was your NBA Finals pick as of last week?
The Timberwolves, and I'm not backing away from them. They lost those first games.
No team has ever come back from 0-3.
Hey, who says it can't happen? They lost their first 3 games. Let me pull this up here. I combined 13 points in the first 3 games. They easily could have won any of those games. So I'm still rocking with the Timberwolves here.
There is no way. Let's getting into my prediction panel parlay. Starts with Boston winning tonight. Gonna get an update on that game here shortly. Pacers are up 94-88 in the fourth quarter. I'm sure we'll both turn that on. Actually, you're watching it right now. I'll turn that on after we finish up here. But I bet Boston wins game 4. I bet that Dallas will beat Minnesota in game 4 tomorrow night. Then on Wednesday night, I'm going to get on this high horse here. We haven't talked about it. I'll talk about it next week. The PWHL, the Professional Women's Hockey League, and their inaugural season this year. They had 6 teams, and they're down to the final 2. Best out of 5 series is tied at 2 apiece. Boston defeated Minnesota in a double overtime game on Sunday night. And now game 5 will take place in Boston on Wednesday. My bet is PWHL Minnesota will take home the inaugural championship. And then on Saturday, Real Madrid in the UEFA Champions League will defeat Borussia Dortmund for the title. The combined odds are less than 13% of all that happening. And 3 of those teams are favored, by the way.
Yeah, that'll be quite the pick there, Elijah, if that pans out for you. But I'll pivot around here a little bit from your picks. I think from watching this game, I think I'm going to say this. I'm going to say the Pacers and the Timberwolves.
After watching it?
Yeah, after watching it, I didn't really think of too much of a pick, but I'm saying at least the Timberwolves and the Pacers will force to a game 6. And then Nebraska will beat Florida in their first round game of the NCAA regional, the Stillwater region. And then we'll include my UCL pick. And I'll say, I'm going to go with you. I'm going to say Real Madrid takes down Borussia Dortmund.
All right. Only one of us can get this right this week. If either of us get this right this week. So very excited to see what happens with our prediction panel parlay this week. And we had that good what's on the mind set for you guys, but with a long conversation with Melisa Becerra, and I just saw a notification on my phone. I thought it'd be more appropriate to honor the worst umpire in MLB history on his retirement. Congratulations, Angel Hernandez. You have already called your final MLB game, and now MLB fans can be free of suffering from your horrible umpiring.
Yeah, which he has been the most scrutinized MLB umpire since I've even looked at an MLB game. Very not surprised at all that this finally happened to him.
So yeah, that's what's on my mind this week. Lots to go around. We had a long conversation with Melisa Becerra. Hope you guys enjoyed that, but I think this episode's running about an hour and 20 minutes now. So, and I know our what's on the mind that we had set for this week, that could go on for like another 15 minutes, Cade. I definitely came down with a lot of ideas on that one. So, I think that's where we should call this week's episode.
Yep, that's fine with me. We've been talking for a long time, and I think this is definitely our longest episode, for sure. Out of all of them, what episode are we on? 10 now or 9?
Yeah, 10.
Well, 2 second episode of the second season. So that'd be a great stopping point for us.
All right, so we'll bring that What's on the Mind back next week. Hopefully we'll be back on Monday night again and get that episode out. But thank you guys all for tuning in. It's been great. And we'll catch you guys next time on Bringing the Heat.
You've been listening to Bringing the Heat, a 91.1 KLPR sports production. You can listen to all episodes wherever you get your podcasts.